I want to talk about Leslie Jones. Leslie Jones, and I'll pull up her picture on the screen for those of you who may not know her. She recently starred in the reboot to Ghostbusters, the all-female cast of Ghostbusters. And I talked about Leslie before on the show because of the harassment that she received on Twitter. And it has been escalated, to say the least. Leslie has been doxed. Her personal information has been hacked and released, including photos of her license, photos of her passport, along with nude photos allegedly from her iCloud account. They pulled and hacked her website and published this as all. This is the worst experience a person can have online, is to have their personal confidential information broadcast for the entire globe to see, anyone with the internet access. And this is just direct retribution for the fact that Milo Yiannopoulos, whatever his last name is, also known as Nero on Twitter, was suspended indefinitely because of the harassment that he led to her. Not necessarily the direct harassment that he engaged in, but the people that he led to her to harass her in a very racist and misogynistic way. I've talked about this. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't like to talk about it, because it really taps a nerve, and the nerve that it taps is the reality that if you're going to be in the public eye, you almost have to disengage from your human side and become numb and dead to all of the possibilities, because you have some people who get joy out of making your life miserable, both online, and if they can reach into your life offline, they will do so. And this is what they did with Leslie. Putting out her personal information, her driver's license with her address on it, her passport information. I mean, it's a really dangerous situation. It opens her up to people finding where she lives, people stealing, well, maybe not stealing her identity, but gaining access to her identity, to say the least. The attack also featured a video of the gorilla Harambe, which is a clear racist overtone, not overtone, a directly racist attack against her. So, and I've talked about this, let's be clear. And some people don't like it when I talk about this, but let's be absolutely clear. I don't think you could have been on the internet for more than a day without seeing some type of harassment of women. And then drill down a little further, harassment of women of color, particularly black women. I see it all the time. More importantly, or more specifically, rather, I see it with women who are in the limelight or doing something. And if they do anything other than serve as the sexual target or the sexual fantasy, the subservient role for the internet community, you're going to have a subset of the internet, a subculture that will lash out and attack. I mean, so long as you're providing sexual fantasies for this group, you're okay. But if you cross the line and do something that's outside of the accepted realm for women on the internet, you will be targeted with harassment. And yes, that harassment does go on with individual women and women who are not, that don't have any notoriety, and, they're not a star. It does happen. But the moment you take a public persona, the moment you get into the quote unquote limelight, you are an immense target. Now, Leslie became an even bigger target because she fought back against the harassment. And because she fought back against the harassment, she has received this doxing. Ultimately, I think that they're trying to scare people. And this is the last bit on this, and I want to do a deeper dive. Ultimately, I believe they want to scare people into not fighting back and allowing the internet to be their world. And the problem is, no, The internet is not your world. You can have your 4chan, and you can have some of your subreddits that are your world, right? But the general and whether people like it or not, the general population and the watering holes and the water coolers of the internet are becoming places where standard accepted norms must be employed. And I think that portion is driving people crazy because they want to be free to, without any repercussions, to say and do and treat you however they want, because this is the internet. And if you can't take the joke, get the F off the internet, right? That's the attitude. But the reality of it is that Facebook, Twitter, all of these places where hundreds of millions of people, and I now believe Facebook is in the billions now. They have over 1 billion users, if I read this article correctly. It's becoming a public place where standard, common courtesy, respect, or at a minimum, non-harassment must take place, right? It's becoming a place where you cannot harass people. And that's to the dismay of a lot of people who gets their rocks off with harassment, through harassment, whatever. And it inevitably comes back to this conversation about, we think it comes back to the conversation about freedom of speech and censorship and, all these things that we try to make. All of a sudden, we try to make this be we try to make it a noble fight to give people like Milo and to give people like the folks who doxed Leslie, to give them space to be able to speak their mind freely. We try to make it seem like it's a noble cause, and because the right thing is for us to be tolerant of everyone, even people who are intolerant. But that's not true. The truth of the matter is there's so many people in these places. The revenue is so dependent on these people remaining in these spaces that all of these platforms are going to, and you see the trend, they're more and more and more, they're cracking down on a certain level of harassment. And whether we like it or not, that's their business, that's their prerogative. It will turn around and bite someone in the ass that we may like eventually. But as of late, it's been biting the trolls in the ass. And I'm not, again, like I said before, I'm not going to shed a tear over the people who get shut down doing things like this, because there's no reason in the world that Leslie Jones's information should have been exposed to the public under any circumstance. There's no justification for it, and anyone who tolerates it or champions it or celebrates it, in my opinion, they're the scum of the earth.